Hey guys, I just got done building that Megavox Xbox 360, and I figured I'd kind of show you what the end result was, because there's a lot more neat stuff to it than you'd think, just based on what it is. Also, it's the first time I've used my headset thing for my phone since I got this new Google Pixel, which weighs like 10 times more than the old phone, so if the picture keeps sliding down, sorry, I have a brick strapped to my face. So here's the finished product. Looking actually really good. It's got the curves and everything. You know, there's some jank in the middle because they don't have like small curved pieces that would work quite right. I think there's some other parts they could have used, but you know, whatever. They did a lot of bespoke parts for this. You can see they even did chrome for the disc tray, like the launch model. I had one 360 like this before the Red Ring claimed it. It's also got chrome on the hard drive plate there. I don't know if it's blinding the camera as much as it's blinding me, but it says hard drive disk on there. It's nice. The writing on all the little plates is really legible. I'm actually surprised how clean it is. They've done a lot of really good collectibles before, but occasionally their printing on their stuff gets pretty bad. It's mixed. Lately, they've been a lot better. You can see, got prints for the grates on the back for little vents. They got pretty high detail print for the plugs. All these are like really, really crisp. Looks like remarkably close. There's even like a little bit of like shading to add some depth to everything. So you can see, like, you know, from a distance, it's pretty convincing. It's a little small. It says 3/4 scale on the box, but I don't know how accurate that is. It's definitely smaller than the real thing, like appreciably so. It's like halfway between a 360 and a Wii in terms of size, but whatever. It's not like the thing needs to actually work. So first off, there's like a surprising number of like little interactable and stuff. So like you can hit the power button, kind of neat. You can even see it's got like a single little ring section to indicate like one controller hooked up. That's kind of cool. It goes off on its own so you don't waste battery power, which is good because they're all contained in these little light bricks that are probably a nightmare to open, probably take little bespoke batteries. The only disappointing thing is they did not include a replacement piece with a red section in it. There had been some rumors that they would, but I'm guessing Microsoft kind of put the kibosh on that, as funny as it would be. All right, so we'll start getting into some of the parts here. First off, the hard drive is actually removable, though it takes a bit of doing. It's attached by these two little green points. I don't remember these being accurate, but you know, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You don't see it. So I got this little lever here. So the purpose of this is it pops the plate out so you can start taking the plates off. Okay, you can see in here we got some goodies. I don't believe this is accurate, but this just kind of, there's a lot of little things in here that are just for aesthetics, just to kind of make it a kind of a cool presentation, make it more of a cool collectible than strictly being perfectly accurate. I have seen the inside of a 360, but the one I saw the inside of was not like this launch model that they're going after, so it could be more accurate than I'm giving it credit for, but it's definitely very empty and full of, you'll see it. They weren't going for accuracy. They were going for gribbling to make it look technical. It is kind of cool though. So this here's a button, lights up. Because it's so tight, you can actually squeeze the outside of the casing when it's closed, and it lights up the side of it. I don't think it's an intended feature. I think it's just a factor of how it's designed. But if we look here, we can see this is actually the disk drive. And the laser can kind of wiggle around here. And if you really put a lot of force on it, well, you can't really see it. It's not coming through the plastic, but a little bit disappointing they didn't include a light for the laser to make it light up red, but somebody just blinded themselves with it. So, all right, so let's take the next part off. You can see a little bit more of the internals. You can see like some fake piping using copper pieces. That actually looks pretty good. Last part. can see we got a lot of little pieces in here. Got some pretty good use of chrome for the, well, it's not chrome, it's silver plastic for the heat vents and everything. Like, it's not accurate, but it looks like the inside of a modern piece of electronics. Little fans here. Maybe if the 360 had big exposed fans like this, it wouldn't have overheated so much. But anyway, so this little bit here probably looks a little strange. This was not part of the original console. So here's what was happening when I was pulling on the disk drive. You see that? A little Cortana hologram in there. And that's not like a piece of, that's not like a disc or anything in there. That's actually built up. There is a solid Cortana like micro figure in there with a ring and everything. It's actually a really, really clever way to do that. I wasn't sure about it. As I was building it, I was a little skeptical of how it would look. But it turns out surprisingly well. Okay. Put these back on here real quick. And you can see it lighting through like I mentioned. This is a little fiddly to get lined up so you don't accidentally trigger that. Yeah. Oh well. I did encounter one set of missing parts back here. I don't really know why they did this. There's no construction reason for it. I even looked at the instructions 2 or 3 times. They actually do show this as being empty until you get to the completed build, and then they show this filled in. So there was some disconnect where they skipped a step. I'm not going to be able to match that because the specific tone of white they use is not in line with like Lego white. Plus it's like a 5 wide plate, which is hard to get in Lego. They have it, but anyway, not going to bother replacing it. It's in the back. Who cares? You'll see around the back here, we've got little fake rubber feet. It kind of annoyed me that they used the plastic ones here because they do have some rubber parts. They're not this shape, but Mega has made rubber pieces they could use, and they just didn't. Annoying, but they would have broken down over time. Anything except hard plastic tends to deteriorate over time no matter what you do. The front and back panels can all come off as well. That said, there's not really a reason to take those off. There's nothing under here that's of interest. It's all just a big white pole. Same with the underside of this. There's no technical parts under here. There's like a couple little pieces that are meant to look like the back of soldering. But clearly this side is meant to stay on. That's why the pin doesn't pop this side out. All right, so what else do we have here? So first, the controller. I kind of showed this off before. So big thing is you can hit the button here. Now, the general shaping of the controller, pretty solid. They did what they could with the parts they had without making like a ton of bespoke parts. There's already plenty in here that is very custom, at least as far as printing. There's also at least one piece that I'm almost positive is brand new. But yeah, the big thing here is the thumbstick pieces, which these are definitely new too. So these are, the whole top is plastic, and then it's got a rubber piece, a rubber stick through the center, which is just like glued in there. And then you just shove this in here and it makes it so they work. The one problem with this design is I'm pretty sure after a few years that rubber is probably going to break down and these will just fall off. So who knows? I could be wrong. I just have had bad luck with that kind of piece design in other things like this. Unfortunately, like triggers are just solid parts, whatever. This thing is, you can see how tiny this thing is. This I would believe is 3/4, maybe even less, but whatever. You can see it's got the little port on there, very clearly says Microsoft. All the buttons have their little labels on there. A little disappointing there's no shading on there to make them look like they're etched in like on the real thing, but oh well, that's being nitpicky. Battery pack is not, like there's not a removable part here. I mean, obviously it's brick built, you could rip it off if you wanted, but it'd be kind of neat if you could like pop the back off and put like fake batteries in there. They could have, it'd be kind of cool if they'd put like a little, maybe like a Master Chief minifigure in here or something. Anyway, it's neat. It's not perfect. It's rough. I feel like this needed another pass in terms of its shaping, but they did as best as they could. Okay, it also comes with a very simple little stand that just slots into the back, and it just sits there. So that's kind of like the meat of it. Got it together. But there's a couple more things. So first is the game box. So of course they include the most iconic Xbox 360 game there is, Halo 3. We've all seen this cover a million times. So very familiar, but you'll notice it's a little bit off. This Master Chief doesn't look quite right. The rating symbol's not quite right. Get to the back here. Again, Master Chief doesn't look quite the same. Controller doesn't look quite the same. Every little scene here doesn't look quite right. So I wasn't going to get out my 360 for comparison. You've seen one of those enough to know what's up here. But let's get the real copy of Halo 3 here. Get this side by side, and you'll notice what is up here is this is the Mega Bloks version. The little, they don't call them minifigures. I think they call them micro action figures or something. They got some stupid like non-copyright infringing name for their minifigures, which they're really good. But yeah, you can see they fully recreated the box, but entirely using their figure or a render of it. But also, I'm not positive. I hadn't really looked really closely. Okay, no. I thought maybe they had done up this whole background in like a brick style, but no, I think they literally just got a slightly clearer version of that render for the background, but still very neat. Weirdly, notice what's missing here. They didn't put the Bungie logo on it because Microsoft retained the rights to use the Halo name. They no longer own Bungie, so they had to remove the developer from the front of the game. And I'm wondering, because the thing is, they still deserve credit for this game. I don't know what the legal situation is there, because they're still credited in modern copies of Halo 3, like in the Master Chief Collection and stuff. So I'm kind of wondering where that's gonna wind up. We might see like a recall on this, reprinted with their logo on the box. But anyway, coming around to the back, you can see like where the rating descriptors and barcode are. They've replaced it with this. They've replaced all the company logos with the Mattel and Mega logos. But they've recreated every scene from the back. Oh, not quite every scene. So they've replaced the 2 multiplayer scenes with different scenes. That's interesting. Was it? Weird. Wouldn't think there'd be any reason for that. But yeah, they recreated some and didn't recreate others. If you're not familiar, there was at one point a planned, back during like the height of the Lego video games, like when they were really blowing up with when they were releasing one after the other, Mega actually contracted a developer. I don't remember who it was, because they were going to make a Lego Halo game. This was early when they'd secured the Halo rights to make all the toys and everything. That was starting to blow up. They wanted to make a video game, and there was some footage from the canceled build that came out that it looked really interesting. They'd made like a sandbox like test build. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if maybe Microsoft wasn't satisfied with the results, or maybe they were too satisfied with it. Maybe they were worried about maybe compromising their own sales. Maybe they didn't really want to play nice and share with Mega. I'm not really sure what the situation was there. It more than likely it boiled down to like a rights and profit sharing issue. These things usually do. But anyway, that never happened. But seeing all this stuff on the back, this could just be interesting renders. But now that Microsoft is a very different company than it used to be, Mega is a very different company. They're very focused around adult collectors in a way that they only were just starting to be when that deal first went through, I could see a scenario where Mattel and Mega kind of reapproach Microsoft and are like, hey, you don't have a new Halo game coming out anytime soon. What about revisiting our old plan? Maybe making, a Halo parody. You have a lot of years of history. You have 20 years of Halo history to play with. Let's make a, Halo trilogy and then a Halo trilogy 2 based on the second trilogy of games. And maybe that's not a great idea, but you can kind of see where they would have the kind of put it in parody with the Lego Star Wars games. Could be interesting. Okay, anyway, long rant over. Let's get this out of here. So, kind of pop this open so this case is not just for looks. How hard it is to open, it might as well be. There we go. So, yeah, we actually got a Halo 3 disc here, and actually, let's bring this back in. So even the disc copies the old disc. Very cool. So the disc can actually come out. So unfortunately, no chrome on the back. That would have been neat, but they didn't. Actually, it would have been cooler because the size of this, so it comes in a little, came in this little cardboard sleeve like this to protect it. And I was thinking it might be like a mini CD, maybe have some kind of cool like videos or promotional footage or something. Would have been kind of neat. But of course that wasn't going to happen because who the fuck has a CD player in their PC anymore? Would have been cool. So before we get into the last feature, which I haven't used yet, there was one extra little part that was included that I never didn't know was in there. So when you get all done, there's one last bag in the very bottom that is done up in such a way so you can't really see it. You open it up and you put together this, which I thought was just very cute. It comes in English and French because, of course, Mega is a French-Canadian company, if I'm right. Well, they're Canadian anyway. So they included this. I thought this was very neat. Good little display thing with your Xbox. So this, I was originally hoping that you'd be able to open this tray in some way since this disc is included and there's a disk drive. I think instead what you have to do is, if you want to put it in there, assuming it does work, yeah, it works. It sits in there. It's the correct size. But it's solid in there. It's kind of wobbly, but I don't know if I'd trust it. It's neat that it works. But technically putting this in here and pulling down would activate that little Cortana thing down below. Not quite as interactive as I hoped. But it's neat that they designed it so that if you wanted to display this open is where that feature would come in handy. You'd have that sitting there, probably with the case propped up. But for now, at least, I'm going to keep this thing closed so I can keep all the parts together. And I'll just pop this sucker back into here. And maybe, unlike my original copy of Halo 3, I won't have to bring this back to Toys R Us twice, Eric. So yeah, it's pretty expensive for what it is. So this set retails for $150 MSRP. That's a lot for what this is. I'm not gonna lie. It's got a pretty high part count at like $1,300. Oh, Jesus, fuck. Feels like $1,300. No, at 13 something pieces. Pretty high part count, but the actual like end product isn't that big. It's got a ton of little tiny pieces that make up all the round shaping and all the little pipes. I mean, every little button, every little corner is a different piece, and then there's all the internal construction. The two new like pieces that I'm positive are new are obviously the thumbsticks, and I'm like 99% sure that the big plates that make up the front and back of this case are new. I mean, obviously the version of them with the Halo 3 print is new. But I don't see where else they would have used a big flat piece like that on anything they've built until now. So yeah, there's, I'll do it that way. There's kind of the complete set there, cool little collector's set. It is what it is. It sits on a shelf. It looks cool. That's why, the box says 18 plus. It's not a thing to be played with. Mega makes good stuff, but they don't make great playable stuff. They make good display pieces because you can see the fit and finish on stuff. Not always perfect. Not up to Lego's standards. But let's be real, if Lego made this would be $250, $300 probably. And the shaping would potentially be good, but it probably wouldn't. They wouldn't be trying to make it as perfect. I say that, but like the NES they made, the Atari they made were both very, very close. So I don't know. They'd be probably less willing to make new pieces. We certainly wouldn't have gotten extras like this. This would have been half the size. It would have been a little sticker. This would have been a little disc in there. It would not have been what it is. They may have included funny stuff like this, but it definitely seems like, Mega is really trying to do something a little bit different. A couple other little details before we go. This is the manual. I thought this was very cool. This is very similar. I don't know if any of you remember, this is what, more or less what the manual that came with the 360 looked like. This is huge, but I don't know if you can all tell. It's also like surprisingly high quality. Like all the rings here are a relief. That's why it's so shiny. The rest of it's matte, and these are actually like shiny finish. And even the box, excuse me, looks like very similar to the original. So that's cool. Only disappointment is it didn't include trays to store everything. It would have been very cool for them to have inserts where you could put everything back in kind of the way the original was. Would have been just a couple more chunks of cardboard. It would have been a very cheap thing to include. They didn't. I don't blame them. It allowed them to put everything in bags and fit everything in a decent sized box. My only real complaint is it's not 1-to-1 scale, but it didn't need to be. It probably would have been a lot harder to get it the way they wanted it in terms of shaping if it was bigger, because then they would have had to do things at a very different scale and it would have got weird. And I think that's probably where the scale it's at came from. Because like if you think about like the drive tray here, if it's really at 3/4 scale, which like I said, I don't think it is. I think that's a rough estimate. You could not size this up and keep the pieces clean. It would have to be like a plate or a stud and a half. You couldn't do 2 studs. It'd be way too wide. I think they probably just looked at how they would make a lot of the pieces and decided like we can't make that many like new pieces to do this, because they would have had to make a whole new scale of plates and everything, like 1.5 scale for everything, just to make it work. And I think they made the right decision here. It would have cost a lot more because you would have had higher part count, obviously, but you also would have had the like piece creation tax or whatever you want to call it. It's the same reason like any Lego set that has original pieces in it is usually more expensive, because they have to subsidize the production of those new parts. Because it's not just somebody designing it and deciding, oh yeah, we're going to make a new thing. They also have to like make a new mold and put a new piece into production, which takes time on the production line. And that goes the same for Mega. So I think they made the right call. It's a shame it's not bigger, but I understand why it's not. Anyway, I think that will do it.